Welcome to another edition of the News Navigators with me, Jeremy Deacon.
And me, Jonathan Starling.
We're back with a podcast special because the OBA saga shows no signs of slowing down, so we thought it was worth having another chat. This is on the back of the caucus meeting last night. That's Friday. We were recording this on Saturday, where there was quite a substantial majority in favour of electing Ben Smith as the leader of the party and the leader of the opposition, which means now that Robert King is neither. Thoughts, Jonathan? Tea leaves? What are they saying to you?
From the OBA members, the lay members that I have spoken to, a lot of them are still very upset about the situation. They think that it is a counterproductive move by the OBA MPs. They don't understand what their issues were with Mr. King. No one's really articulated. They're like, what leadership issues? He was doing a good job. We wanted him to be more out there, but we understand he was having his hand tied by the other MPs. That's just what I'm hearing from OBA members. There's a general upsetness and anger about what has happened. They feel that their vote has been ripped up by the OBA MPs, and they feel that they're being denied a say in how this is going. That someone called it a stitch up to me when I was talking to them this morning. They said, this whole thing is a stitch up. We've been denied our voice.
And I think that narrative is being fed a lot by a lack of information coming from Ben Smith, in particular, the new leader. If you look at the answers that he gave in a press conference last night, which I think must have been after the caucus meeting, he was saying that it was up to Robert King for him to come in and heal things. He did those things, he says. Caucus members did not appreciate that. It wasn't the behaviour that we wanted. But throughout that press conference, he didn't elaborate on what those issues were. What does he have to heal? He did those things. We don't know what those things were. We don't appreciate it. Well, why not? And I think the problem with it, that their lack of candor, their lack of honesty, and I'm going to come on to what I mean about that, is fueling all this speculation. Now, what I mean by honesty is I'm sitting, as people know by now, I'm in the UK, and Keir Starmer, UK Prime Minister, is being put through the mill over the Mandelson affair. And I was listening to a radio interview with a former advisor of Tony Blair, former UK Prime Minister, and he was saying, a comms advisor, and he was saying, look, you should be honest as far as you can be. And there seems to be a lack of honesty in terms of coming out with a full story. If they came out with a full story and the message was right, they would help to put this to bed. Their answers aren't good enough, so it fuels constant speculation.
Yeah, I mean, when I heard those Ben Smith's comments after the caucus last night, my interpretation was he was talking about the interviews that Robert King had given earlier prior to the caucus to both the Royal Gazette and to Bermuda Broadcasting.
But there was
That's
only
just
one
my perception.
there were two interviews, and I think they happened yesterday morning or yesterday afternoon. That's Friday afternoon before the caucus. My reading of what Ben Smith was saying, that this was ongoing issues.
Well, I mean, this comes down to our what you were just saying. We don't know what they're referring to.
It's a lack of clarity, and it fuels the story, and it fuels the unrest, I think, of those people, those friends of yours who are UBP members, because they don't know.
I mean, one thing that struck me is, obviously we're all human, right? We have human emotions. Robert King, when he was giving his interview, especially to the Royal Gazette, you could see the emotions flowing through him as he was processing what has happened to him. It was a big shock to his system. He was a bit more composed for the Bermuda Broadcasting one, I think, because he already got it out of his system.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can see Ben Smith and even Scott Pearman when after the swearing in the government house and they spoke outside. Well, not government house, the acting government house.
Yeah.
They you could see the motions with them as well, but they're very defensive and almost aggressively
I
defensive. So,
agree.
we're not going to take questions. We did this for democracy. Now, an OBA member said to me that they found these comments highly ironic, saying that you did this for democracy by ripping up
Yes,
democracy.
exactly. By
You're
staging
demanding
a
honesty and
palace coup.
transparency and discipline when they themselves did the exact opposite of it.
That was hugely ironic. Yeah, yeah. Nobody really picked up on that, I think. But you're right. It was heavy with irony. You stage a palace coup, which is not democratic.
Not good discipline. And I mean, we had Robert King on the podcast last year around November, and at that time, one reason why we had him on was because we were aware of resistance he was facing within the party following his
Yeah,
election.
yeah. It was
And
quite clear at that time there were factions.
yeah, and our interpretation of the time was there was an attempted kind of palace coup at that moment.
Mm.
But for whatever reason, they were able to broker like a temporary peace, which obviously didn't last that for much longer after that.
Well, they
But
should
the
have got
reason
Donald Trump in, hadn't they? Should broker a peace. Sorry,
yeah,
being sarcastic. Being sarcastic, sorry.
but the reason I mentioned that is because Robert King, in his interviews with the RG and Bermuda Broadcasting yesterday, he didn't speak directly, but he was asked if he was faced resistance of people who were not answering his phone calls or not responding to emails, and he didn't say yes clearly, but he gave a strong indication that that was the case.
Oh, it was clearly a yes
Yeah,
in a roundabout way. And this fuels what we've heard, hasn't it? That people were not taking his phone calls or replying to his emails almost from day one after the election.
and so from my opinion, his hands were tied almost from his election. Yeah, every time he tried to be leadership or to do what his job was supposed to be, he faced resistance and wasn't able to do that. Whether his ideas were good and it was a good idea to resist it, I don't know. I can't say.
Well,
Neither you nor
it
I in
hasn't
the
been
room.
made public, has it? We don't know.
Yeah. From the outside, it just looks like people were upset that they didn't win and kind
Yeah,
of picked up the ball and went home, in a sense.
yeah,
Whether
I
that's the
agree.
case, I don't know. That's just how it looks from the outside.
Well, again, it comes back to my point that they're not releasing the information that would put this story to bed. So it's going to carry on looking like that. Now, you've heard, and it was reported in the Gazette as well, that the leadership election was decided by 17 votes. Now, that's fine. It looks close, but we don't know how many people voted.
Yeah, I was trying to figure that out because the way the OBA's voting system works, as I understand their constitution, is they have a one member, one vote system.
Yeah.
So I don't know how many members the OBA have. We've
Or
heard,
who were present at the meeting.
right, and we've heard that the election where Robert King was elected on September the 6th was a large turnout. What's a large turnout? 100, 500? I have no idea.
We don't know.
So
No, I
I
have no
don't
idea.
know if 17 doesn't sound like a big margin, but it might be. I don't know because the OBA
If
has not
100 votes
released
for
this
cars,
information.
17 becomes a big margin.
Yeah, exactly.
You know,
So I don't
and I
know, but
don't see that.
even if that's the case, and a win is still a win. I mean,
Exactly.
Mr. Smith is in sports. He's our national swimming coach, I believe. He
Yep.
understands a win is a win.
Yep.
Um, and
If you
I only
get
raise that because Mr. Smith made a big song and dance in his election campaign for leadership that he was a good sportsmanship. So I'm just raising that because I'm like, okay, you made a song and dance about that, but have you demonstrated that? If he hadn't
it's
made a song
like
and dance, I wouldn't even be bringing it up. And he's
I
probably never going
agree.
to come on our podcast now because I said that.
No, no. But it's like one of his swimmers losing by 17 seconds and saying that wasn't a fair result.
I mean, the sportsmanship response is to be like, okay, I lost. I will learn from this and I will work hard and train and do better. And in the meantime, I will be a good team player and help
Yes.
my team, help the winner be the best leader he can be.
Yes.
That's the way I would have interpreted
Yes.
that.
Yes,
Um, so
I
yeah,
I, uh, I agree 100%.
and
And
this is also what I've been hearing from a lot of OBA members. So it's not
right,
just me saying this. I happen to agree with the OBA members on this, but I'm hearing this from people on the street. So it's interesting.
it's
Another
interesting. As
interest. Hmm? Sorry.
what I'm hearing a lot is people are asking me, or indirectly asking me, what did he do? People are saying, what did he do?
He won when he shouldn't have.
Huh?
He won when he shouldn't have.
Yeah, yeah. That's basically the answer I'm giving. I said, well, as far as me and Jonathan are aware, it's didn't like his leadership, and people are going, is that it? They were thinking, well, he must have stolen from the OBA. He must have done something egregious against the OBA. Now, I hasten to add there is absolutely no evidence of that happening whatsoever. So you've got this situation now where his reputation is actually suffering because they honestly, people were thinking he must have done something really bad. And when he told them, well, I think it was just leadership, they're going, what? Is that it? And these are serious people in business,
And
who have bosses
he.
they don't get on with or whatever.
I mean, I can't necessarily speak to Mr. King's leadership ethos. I don't know
I don't
whether.
know.
I mean, we've all had bad bosses.
Yeah.
We've all
Yeah.
experienced bad leadership, but whether that was true with regards to Mr. King, I don't know. The one thing I
Uh,
will say is yes, he was relatively green in the sense of being new to Parliament, but that doesn't, you can still be new to Parliament and have a lot of experience as a leadership or even be a natural leader.
exactly.
So,
Exactly.
so I
And
really
if you're,
don't know if his leadership was actually bad enough to warrant this coup or if it was more, sour grapes. We don't know because they haven't been upfront about it. Mr. King in his interviews yesterday was like, look, I knew there was resistance, but no one would come and talk to me and say what the problems was. I welcome constructive criticism. And he was like, this kind of came out of the blue. I'm a bit surprised that it came out of the blue because we all knew there was resistance going back months.
well, what
But
came out of the blue was a vote that went to the governor. I think that came out.
yes. And I get his point. If people have an issue with someone, they should be willing to be assertive enough and say, these are the issues I have and try to
Well,
work
maybe
things
they
out.
did. Maybe they
Maybe
did.
they did. We don't know.
Again, we don't know, which is very frustrating not knowing at least some of the story. And again, as I said in my intro, this or earlier on, this just feeds the speculation, and it will carry on feeding that speculation.
But what's the saying? Nature abhors a vacuum, and so when there's a vacuum of actual information, it gets filled by speculation.
Just segueing into that, I'm taking over your segues here, Jonathan. Um,
I'll have a cup
Ben
of tea
Smith
then.
did say there was not going to be a special meeting of the OBA to hold a vote. It's going to wait until September. Now, is that a good or a bad thing?
Well, there's definitely pros and cons, and just for our listeners, just so that they understand, I have the OBA Constitution here, so they do have a regular general conference in September, just like the PLP has a regular annual delegates conference usually in October.
Yeah.
But both the PLP and the OBA have the ability to trigger special
Yep.
conferences. Now, in the PLP, I don't have their constitution in front of me, but it can be triggered by a vote of the Central Committee. It can be triggered by a certain number of branches
Yep.
calling for it. In the OBA's constitution, it's interesting. It's section 3.6. And, maybe we'll get an OBA member who knows their constitution better who will correct me. But my reading of 3.6 says that the special conference can only be called for specific purposes. It can include any, a vote for leadership, but it can only be called by the executive of the OBA voting to trigger it. So
Right.
there's no real mechanism for the OBA membership as far as I can tell from their constitution to trigger anything. I mean, they could yell and harass members of the executive until they do trigger it, but there's no actual formal constitutional mechanism for your average OBA member to say, we want a voice, we want to vote
Sure.
on this issue.
Yeah. Yeah.
And we saw the executive voted last night. I think it was something like 24-19 or something. I can't remember the exact
24-9. It was pretty
24-9
overwhelming, actually. I was quite surprised.
to kind of rubber stamp the coup. At that point, it was a fait accompli, and I think they were just trying to work out the best way to move
Maybe.
forward.
Maybe.
Now, as you mentioned, is it a good idea to wait till the September conference? Right now, their membership is angry, and I think if they did hold a membership vote right now, a lot of members would probably vote not for Mr. Smith. However, to be put to have your name put forward for as a leadership candidate for the OBA, you have to be an OBA MP, and you have to have the signatures of 3
Yep.
OBA MPs.
Yep.
And we saw so OBA currently has 11 MPs, and we saw that 9 of them supported
Mm-hmm.
this coup,
Yeah. Yep.
palace
It was
coup.
originally 7, then turned to 9.
Right. And it's not clear to me if the one of those 3 signatories can also be the candidate putting their name forward, or it's them plus 3. I don't know. But either way, there's not enough MPs at the moment who would seem to be willing to support an alternate candidate.
Yeah. Yeah.
And in that situation, as I read their constitution, that means that there's only one candidate and it's a vote by
Yep.
acclamation,
Yep.
which if I was an OBA member, I would be rather upset about.
But if I was perhaps advising them, I would probably say, let's get this over with now.
Are
You call a
you
special
because
meeting, you're voted in by acclamation, you have the discussion behind closed doors at the special meeting, and it's done and dusted quickly. I think the problem with delaying this until September is that, from a journalistic point of view, if nothing else, keeps the story going. Keeps the story going. It brings everything back up in September. Now, that is not good timing, given we know that David Burt is stepping down in October. So this whole thing is going to be front and center in September, all over page one, all at the top of the TV news, etc., etc. Theoretically, it also gives somebody else time to perhaps get those 3 signatures, which there won't be time now. And so it
well,
does open the door to a challenge.
speaking,
It's, if Ben Smith does not perform well,
yeah, he might. This time may be a rope to hang himself with.
it could well be.
Yeah,
So why not just get it out of the way? If you do it now, you're going to get voted in by acclamation. You'll get everything out of the way. You've got a clear run in then to focus on when David Burt leaves as PLP leader and premier, to focus on getting your act together, the party's act together, with no distractions for what will probably be a fairly an election fairly soon.
I mean, personally, I suspect that a lot of the OBA members who are unhappy with this action, probably half of them, not all, some are just going to stay with the OBA through thick and thin, but they'll voice
Yeah,
their
regardless.
displeasure.
Yeah.
But a good chunk are going to just leave the party. And so
Yeah.
they won't even be there in September to have a vote.
Or maybe they'll be there
The
to vote with their
OBA's risk
feet.
is that those members take their human capital, their knowledge, to either the Free Democratic Movement or to the People's Independent Campaign Movement, or create a whole new party. You could have the Bermuda Democratic Alliance reborn, or some other iteration of that.
I
You
agree.
have at least one MP who did not participate in the coup, who abstained either formally or said I wasn't going to participate and legitimize it. We don't know if they formally abstained or just washed their hands of the whole thing. You have Robert King, who is obviously going to be unhappy, and it sounds like he's going to be facing disciplinary action.
Well, that depends if he comes forward, doesn't it, and heals it himself, whatever it is.
But my point is that there's at least 2 OBA MPs in the House who may not necessarily have an incentive to toe the party line. They may
Yeah.
even decide to do what happened with the UBP and the BDA when there was
Yep.
a splinter,
Yep.
and they may be able to take a lot of the the membership with them and build a momentum between now and the next election.
I agree. Which then comes back to my point: get
Mm-hmm.
the painful bits out of the way first, move on, build momentum.
Yeah, it's
It's a strange strategy to me. I can see both sides, but if it was me, I would get the painful stuff out of the way quickly, get it done.
so one interesting thing you mentioned about a bad strategy. So one thing that came out in the interviews with Mr. King yesterday, Friday, February the 6th, was that he was in this whole kind of coup actually happened on the Wednesday.
Yeah,
It only became into the public light on the Thursday when they were able to go up to Government House and formally do the swearing
yeah,
in.
that's right.
So, just me from being on the outside, it sounds like they may not have crossed their T's and dotted their I's when they launched their coup on Wednesday. Because where was the governor on that case? Did they not think ahead on how to do that? I don't know. It just seems like it was a very badly thought out strategy
Yeah,
overall, is all I'm
I
trying to
agree.
say on that
Yeah,
base.
no, I agree. It hasn't. I think a lot of this hasn't been thought through. To my point about having a special conference to elect a new leader, it seems to have been very, very sudden. But again, we don't know why. And not knowing why, as I've said ad nauseum, fuels the speculation, keeps the story on the front page, which is not a good look for the OBA because they're always going to be on the back foot. They're never going to be able to enunciate their policies properly if they do, because this is always going to be in the shadow. Always.
Yep.
People will go
Well,
to Robert King and say, "What do you think?" as a former leader. It's gonna hang over them for a long time. Now, talking of Robert King, he said in the RG interview and the ZBM interview, I assume, that he's going to stay within the OBA and stay as an MP. Um, Good or bad for the OBA?
well, on that, I'll say a day is a long time in politics, as is a week. He was giving those interviews prior to the caucus vote last night.
He
My
was.
interpretation of his interview, why he was doing it, and again, there's pros and cons. He might have been advised that it was probably a bad idea. It might have been a good idea. My thinking was he was trying to communicate, talk over the OBA and talk directly to the OBA members to say, this is what happened. I think that the OBA members' vote should be respected. So to me, he was trying to talk directly to the members
Yeah.
in preparation, kind of put pressure on the caucus vote. Now the caucus vote voted against him. So now, does he now go to the members that support him and break away with this new party splinter? Or does he suck it up and go back to this place and caucus with a group of people that have not treated him very well? And, you know, I don't know if I would want to go back in a room with those people if that had
Well,
happened to me.
especially as Ben Smith came out and said it's up to Robert King to heal whatever has happened if he comes back into the room. I get the impression that Robert King's a very proud man and may not want to do that, who lives on his principles and is principled enough to believe that what he has been doing is the right thing. I think this could cause quite a lot of problems. Now, whether it'll come to the point where the OBA will withdraw the whip. That could be really interesting. That's a disciplinary measure, isn't it? If Robert King does not come back and try to heal whatever it is he has to heal, then you got to lose Cannon, former leader, democratically elected by the members, who is free to talk about what he wants to talk about, and that could be a very dangerous thing for the OBA, especially in the House where everything is privileged. So you can
Yeah.
say pretty much what you like, and what you say can be reported on because it is does carry what's called absolute privilege.
And it's not just King. As I said, there's another MP that kind of washed their
Yeah.
hands of this. I don't know who that MP is.
Well, we do because he's been named. It's Mike Fahey, right? He came out and it was reported in the Royal Gazette.
Was it? Okay, I must have
Yeah,
missed that part.
yeah. It was reported. There's no
Okay, so you've
secret.
got two MPs, one of them a particularly big name, who may or may not have any incentive to play ball anymore with the OBA.
And that's a really big problem for them. You know, Mike Fay. I've always said this all along. He's a friend of mine, so take what I say with a pinch of salt. And if I get this wrong, I'll get a phone call in a couple of hours. But he's a lightning rod, isn't he? So he says something
For good or bad.
for good or bad. He's a I've told him that he knows, but he's a lightning rod, and if he feels free, it could be pretty tough for the OBA.
You know, it would be.
No, I have to say I want to qualify this, but I don't know what he's doing. Right, he's a friend, but I've no idea what he's doing.
Yeah, I just had a funny picture of what happens if King and Fade defect to the PLP. What would the PLP do with that?
Oh, Jonathan, you're going to kill me by choking with that one. Can you
I
imagine?
don't know what the PLP membership will think about that. They're like, what?
Oh my lord! What if I'm going to make sure Mike Fay listens to this? That we proposed thought. Sorry, I could barely get it out. He crosses the floor to the PLP.
Well, I think
No.
Faye's got some Irish ancestry to him, so green will look good on him, right?
Oh, I'm going to message him after this. You've got to listen to this one.
But yeah,
But
you
here
were
we
talking
are.
about discipline.
Hey,
Sorry.
Jonathan, sorry, but here we are. Here we are talking about the absurdities of all this. Anyway,
Yeah. Well, you mentioned discipline. So the OBA does have a section 12 on their constitution that talks about the disciplinary committee. One interesting bit is section 12.5, which reads that the OBA leader and the OBA whip will have disciplinary discretion over parliamentarians, and their decision will be final as it relates to parliamentary duties. They can also refer the member, the NMP, to the disciplinary committee, but the OBA leader has the final say on that. Another interesting thing is, of course, the OBA leader, or the opposition leader, technically under the Bermuda Constitution order, is the one who sets the shadow cabinet.
Yep.
And also appoints the opposition senators.
Yep.
So it was interesting if you look at the Wednesday press conference outside of the acting government house. Mm-hmm. There were two former OBA senators who were there in the shot.
Yep.
They're not senators right now, but well, at least one of them was a senator, Marcus Jones. The other one was John Seymour. I can't remember if he was ever a senator. I can't remember.
I don't think he was a senator.
He was a candidate for sure, though. So maybe they're angling for a Senate seat. Both of them are somewhat controversial. But that's. I'm just saying we're gonna have a new Senate appointment likely. They may wait till after the budget, which is coming up on February. I want to say the 20th, which is also
be around about that time.
Yeah, and that's also the first sitting of the House from this debacle.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see how the PLP plays this.
Well, the PLP's David Burt's going to stand up and say, "Will the real leader of the OBA please stand up?"
I'm going to play some Eminem and some Shady with that, but
that's what I would do. I mean, you got one democratically elected and one not democratically elected.
So that's an interesting thing. What the OBA has done here is now set a precedent. They've kind of broken the taboo, and now it's going to be easier going forward for any future palace coup. So there is the risk of, that saying, if you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Mm-hmm. Ben Smith might face a coup of his own, against him in like 6 months, because now it's being done that mental taboo is being broken. It's going to be easier. Now, the PLP had this in 2003. Yeah. There was almost a bit of it when the PLP was in opposition with Mark Bean as the opposition leader, because there was tension between Mark Bean and the rest of the PLP, as we've seen by his creation of the Free Democratic Movement and the libertarian ideology in that. Obviously, Mark Bean's ideology was rather different from the general.
It was totally PLP. Different, yeah.
So you can understand why there was tension there.
Yeah.
I think that was only avoided by the fact that Mark Mark Bean, he had, I forget the proper term, it was like a mild stroke or something he had,
He did, yeah. He was taken
which
ill,
led
wasn't
to
he? Yeah.
him having to, you know, retire from opposition leadershipness. And so David Barrett became the opposition leader kind of by default
I think
at
there would
that.
have been a coup.
I think things were probably building up to that. I'm not sure, but that was certainly my perception. Because
Yeah.
every other week during that period, you heard rumblings about problems going on in Alaska
Yeah.
Hall.
Yeah.
So yeah, there was definitely tension building up to that. But this is the first time where it's actually happened. 2003 kind of happened, but not quite. It was a
Mm.
fudge. This is the only
Yeah.
time where the actual party constitution and the Bermuda Constitution have clashed. And of course, the Bermuda Constitution takes primacy.
It
But
trumps everything. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but this is the
Yeah.
first time it's actually really it's been talked about before. It's never been done,
It's a very good point. That's a very good point. It does create a bit of a precedent,
and
doesn't
not
it?
just for the OBA. It has that same thing for the PLP now as well. Any political
Absolutely. Yeah.
party.
Yeah.
So it's not a constitutional crisis, but it
No,
is like a, I don't know, an Amber Alert.
it is. But it's a party constitutional crisis, perhaps, not a
Oh, it's definitely a
Bermuda.
party constitutional crisis.
Yeah, and the two clashing like that is really interesting. You raise a good point, though, Jonathan, that, could Ben Smith face his own coup in 6 months' time? There is a lot of pressure on him now. I mean, clearly he wanted the leadership because he stood for the leader at the last OBA general meeting. He clearly wanted it. He's now got it. He's got to prove himself, hasn't he? There's a lot of pressure. There's going to be a lot of scrutiny and a lot of watching of his performance to see if he really can do it.
Well, he's carrying a lot of political baggage now. I mean, he
He
was
really,
already carrying the xenophobic anti-Jamaican slur from I think the 2020 election.
which the PLP brought up.
Yep. And now he's going to be like, how can you trust this man? PLP is going to bang that narrative, and it's a narrative which is also being banged by a lot of the OBA membership. So now he's in a relatively safe seat, but is it still a safe seat in this situation? I don't know.
Well, I mean, I'd imagine that the gamble will be that this is quietened down by the time the election comes around, and it'll be forgiven. And as we said, a week is a long time in politics. But there's going to be a scrutiny on him. There's going to be scrutiny from internally. He's got what he's wanted. Is he up to it now?
Yeah. No, I mean,
A lot of pressure on him to perform.
hopefully we will get Ben Smith, the opposition leader, on the podcast at some point in time. He
I
may
have
not
asked him,
want
but no
to right
reply
now,
so far.
especially after our kind of jokey comments. But the invitation is out there, right? So
It is, and I will. I mean, I've emailed today, and I will carry on, and I'll approach them personally to see if we can get them because I think.
well, we want to
I
hear
think
from him, his own words, and give his rationale.
and I would like to press him, on why we've not had specifics. I mean, maybe they can't, but
I
you can
mean, we will
intimate. You can
ask these
intimate more.
questions.
Yeah, it's interesting times, Jonathan. I think there's a lot more to come out of this, which I said the other day as well. This hasn't finished. The
I agree.
shadow cabinet. What is Mike Fahey going to get? The one who abstained. What is Robert King going to get? They've only got 11 MPs. They've all got different shadow cabinets at the moment. Are those two going to be frozen out? Are other
Or
people?
they'll
And if
be
they're
given
frozen out,
cabinet ministries that they don't want, and I don't think you can
yeah,
force anyone to take a ministry up. They can just
that's
say,
a
"I don't
good.
want it."
That's a good point. Actually, can they say no? We don't want it and just
I
serve on the
think they
back
can. I
bench,
mean, in that case, they'll be referred to the disciplinary committee, maybe have the whip
right?
withdrawn. But that might be even worse for the OBA to have two rogue MPs, right?
Exactly. But you're not going to reward Robert King with a prime shadow ministry, are you?
No, no.
You're not.
I mean,
And
to the victors go the spoils, right?
exactly.
Including the opposition leader's office. I imagine Mr. King has vacated that by now. There's patronage. You can appoint your senators. That's a paid
Your
job.
consultants.
You can hire a couple consultants in the office staff. So patronage is there now. I mean, the same goes for the PLP, of course. That's true for any political party.
We
Well,
know
at least
that,
for the government and the opposition.
but those appointments are going to have particular interest, especially the shadow cabinet appointments. That's going to have particular interest because it's going to tell political watchers like us a lot.
I've actually been surprised we haven't heard from the chair of the OBA. Anyone
Why?
from the executive. It's only been the MPs. The chair of the OBA is William Soares, I
William
believe.
Soares, old school friend of yours.
Yeah, it's a good guy.
It's
Obviously
interesting,
we
actually.
disagree on politics, but he's a good man.
Clearly. It's interesting, actually, that no leaks, as far as I know. Quite a tight ship. It didn't used to be like that, the OBA. It was the leakiest of ships.
Give it time. Give it time.
I'm not going to hold my breath for us, mate.
Yeah, well, we'll see what happens.
Indeed. Look,
I mean,
on that note, Jonathan, I am going to drown my sorrows. Man United beat Spurs. Bad news. Hull City lost at home to Bristol. Mackie Wells' old team. The only silver lining is Wales. Wales got smashed by England. So at least I can go and toast that. And I'm afraid to say that the country of your birth got smashed by Italy in the Six Nations.
well, yes, and I'll say what I said to you before we started. It's because the incentives are wrong when it comes to the
This is
Six Nations.
bollocks. Go on.
Because the losing team gets a wooden spoon. That's like the joke trophy.
Metaphorically.
Scotland, we eat a lot of porridge. We need wooden spoons for that. You got to make the wooden spoon the winning trophy. Then Scotland would be like, yeah, let's do this. Right now, we're like, yeah, let's win a wooden spoon.
So what you're saying is, Jonathan, you're still in the Stone Age and use wood instead of steel.
Hey, we like our porridge. What can I say? It's good for you.
Yeah, but you use a wooden spoon. Everybody else is kind of caught up that you can use a nice steel spoon nowadays.
We believe in sustainability and a low carbon footprint.
Not recycled.
There's the reason Scotland has the highest renewable energy of all of the UK.
There we go. I'm not buying your argument.
I'm actually going to go make some porridge now. So, I had it for breakfast, but I haven't had lunch yet.
So. Me neither. I haven't had breakfast, lunch, or dinner, and it is. Look, my laptop, which I'm on, is 3:38 p.m., which is why I got confused the other day. So what is that? 7:38. I'm hungry.
Well, pleasant appetite, and let's see if there's any more breaking news between now and our regularly scheduled podcast.
I have a sneaking suspicion the next couple of days will be quite quiet until we see Senate and Shadow Cabinet Ministers, which will be sometime next week, which might necessitate another podcast special.
Indeed.
All right, mate. On that note, au revoir.
Cool.